Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, today we're diving into something that's probably been burning a hole in your pocket if you've been playing fish, enchanting. Let's be real, enchanting can be a major money sink in this game. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself broke before you can even think about getting those shiny new rods and boats. But don't worry, I've got your back. In this video, we're going to break down the best enchants for each rod so you can keep your bank account full while still snagging those awesome upgrades. Trust me, knowing which enchants are worth holding onto will save you so much cash in the long run. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the ultimate fish Roblox rod enchant tier list. I'm going to walk you through which enchants are the real game changers and which ones you should probably skip. You'll be able to optimize your enchantments like a pro and make sure you've always got enough money for the next big thing. Ready to save some cash and fish like a boss? Let's go! I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking enchants in fish. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The enchanters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Long and Wormhole. Alright, let's talk about two rod enchants in fish that are honestly more of a headache than a help. Long and Wormhole. I mean, these two are seriously the bottom of the barrel when it comes to enchantments. If you've ever used them, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. First up, let's get into Long. This enchantment boosts your line distance by 50 studs, but spoiler alert, it's pretty much useless. Why? Well, unless you're fishing in a ridiculously vast area, and I'm talking way bigger than any normal fishing spot, you'll never notice a difference. It's just a stat boost for the sake of a stat boost. In reality, all it does is make you wait a little longer for your bait to land, which, let's be real, isn't what anyone wants when they're out here fishing for the good stuff. And then we have Wormhole. Oh boy, this enchantment just messes with the whole fishing experience. You can catch fish from random areas, which sounds kinda cool on paper, but in practice, it completely ruins farming and bestiary completion. Instead of being able to fish from the spot you want, you're chasing after fish that pop up everywhere. Not exactly the most efficient way to get the job done. So, if you're looking to make any progress or have any kind of strategy with your fishing, this one's probably best left off your rod. So yeah, if you're using Long or Wormhole, maybe think about swapping them out for something more useful. Trust me, your fishing experience will thank you. The enchants in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Blessed, Scrapper, Noir, and Unbreakable. Let's dive into the C-tier fish rod enchants, shall we? These aren't exactly the ones you're going to be grinding for, but hey, sometimes it's good to know what to avoid or at least keep in mind when you're fishing your way through the game. So, let's get into it. First up, we've got Blessed. Now, the idea behind this one sounds nice. It increases the chance of catching shiny or sparkling fish by 2%, but honestly, that's not much of a game changer. If you're trying to make serious coin with your catches, there are far better enchants to focus on. Sure, it's cool to see a shiny fish now and then, but let's be real, you're not going to rely on this enchant when you're after bigger rewards. Next is Scrapper, and this one might seem like a good idea at first. It lets you keep 60% of the bait you use, which sounds like a decent deal, right? But here's the thing. When you're targeting rare fish, you'll probably be more concerned about maximizing your chances of landing that prize catch rather than saving on bait. So while it's not a total waste, it definitely feels like a meh enchant when compared to others that could actually improve your chances of catching high value fish. Then there's Noir, which boosts the chance of catching albino or darkened fish by 10%. On paper, this seems like it could be a good way to snag some extra value fish, but in practice, it's just not that great. The value of albino and darkened fish isn't enough to make this enchant feel worth it in the long run. It's a small bump that doesn't really match up to other enchants that focus on more consistent and higher value rewards. Now, let's talk about Unbreakable. This one might seem promising at first glance. Who doesn't want a rod that won't break? But here's the catch. If you're really going for those big catches, you're going to want to go with the King's Rod instead. Unbreakable sounds nice, but it's really not going to give you the edge when you're trying to land a big fish. For most players, it's just another enchant that doesn't really live up to the hype. So, to sum it all up, these C-tier enchants are definitely not the ones you want to prioritize when you're gearing up to catch some serious fish. Sure, they have their moments, but when it comes to maximizing your profits and success, there are much better options out there. If you find yourself with one of these enchants on your rod, don't sweat it too much. Just focus on getting better options that can actually help you reel in the big ones. And that's a wrap on our C tier rod enchants. Let me know in the comments if you've had any experience with these or if there's a particular enchant you just can't get enough of. We'll be back with more fish tips, so stay tuned. The enchantments in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ghastly, Lucky, Mutated, Insight, and Breezed. Alright, let's talk about some of the rod enchants in fish that are a bit, well, not the absolute top tier, but still worth considering. We're diving into B tier enchants, which aren't terrible by any means, but they're definitely more of a situational pick. So let's go through them one by one and see how they stack up in the grand scheme of things. First up is Ghastly. Now, if you're all about making some extra cash while fishing, Ghastly's your buddy. It boosts the chances of catching translucent fish by 20%, and while that might not sound like a huge deal, those translucent fish can really rack up your earnings. So, if you're just casually fishing and want a little more bang for your time, Ghastly's pretty solid. It's like a 20% boost to your income. Who doesn't love that, right? Next, let's talk about Lucky. If you're looking to boost your luck in the game, this enchant will give you a 20% increase. I'm not gonna lie, there are definitely better luck boosts out there, so Lucky's kind of on the lower end of the luck spectrum. But hey, it's not completely useless. If you don't have access to the fancier luck enchants just yet, Lucky can be a good stepping stone until you get something better. It's like the backup plan that's not bad, just not the star of the show. Moving on, we've got Mutated. This one's a bit more niche, but super useful if you're all about catching those mutated fish. It increases the chance of getting mutated fish by 7%. It's not as flashy as Ghastly, but it does its job. If you're looking to collect mutations, then this enchant is definitely worth keeping around. It may not be a moneymaker like Ghastly, but if you're after those rare fish for your collection, Mutated is definitely one to consider. Then there's Insight, which gives you a 50% boost to your EXP gain. Now this is where things get interesting. In the early stages of the game, Insight is awesome. It helps you level up faster, and who doesn't love leveling up quickly, right? But as you get to higher levels and EXP becomes less of a focus, it starts to lose its charm. So while it's solid early on, it eventually falls off once you've hit a certain point. Still, if you're just starting out, Insight can be a real game changer. Lastly, we have Breezed. This enchant increases your luck during windy weather by 65%. It's pretty nice if you're using the Windset totem, because it'll really help boost your luck when the wind is right. But, and here's the catch, it's not quite as strong as the Storming enchant, which is the real beast when it comes to boosting luck in certain conditions. So while Breezed is fun to use and has its moments, it's kind of outshined by the better options. But hey, if you're a fan of windy weather and want a luck boost during those times, Breezed can still be a good choice. So, while these B tier enchants aren't the absolute best, they still have their moments in the spotlight. They're not game changers, but they're far from being useless. Depending on your playstyle and the situation you find yourself in, these enchants can still add some value to your fishing adventures. Just keep in mind, there are definitely better enchants out there, but these B tier ones are still worth keeping around. The enchants in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Storming, Swift, Quality, and Seeking. Alright, let's talk about some of the A tier fish rod enchants. Now, if you've been fishing for a while, you've probably come across these enchantments, and let me tell you, each one has its own little twist to make your fishing experience a bit more wild. So let's dive right in. First up, we've got Storming. Now, this one is an absolute game changer if you're using the Tempest totem. It boosts your rod luck by a huge 95% during rain. That's right. If you're someone who loves to fish when it's stormy, Storming might just become your new best friend. It's definitely the top tier luck booster in fish when you're planning to fish through those rainy seasons, and it can seriously ramp up your chances of landing some bigger catches. Next, there's Swift. Now, it's not quite as flashy as Hasty, but it's still a solid option. If you're lowest on enchant relics and need something that's just reliable, Swift isn't a bad choice. Sure, it won't give you that lightning fast reeling speed, but hey, sometimes you just need a rod that gets the job done without all the frills. It's a nice backup when you don't want to spend too many relics. Moving on to Quality, this one's perfect for those of you who have a well-rounded rod, like the King's Rod. It gives you a nice mix of stats, making it versatile for various fishing needs. However, if we're talking about raw performance, Hasty, Resilient, and Divine do outshine it in some ways, but if you're looking for something that gives you a little bit of everything, Quality is a solid enchant to consider. And last but not least, let's talk about Seeking. This one's interesting because it's really only great if you've got the King's Rod. It increases the size of the fish you catch by fishing. While this sounds cool in theory, you won't get much use out of it unless you're already rocking a high tier rod like the King's Rod. But if that's the case, it's a nice little boost for those who want to catch the big ones. So there you have it, 4 A-tier fish rod enchants that can totally change how you fish. Whether you're after better luck, faster reeling, or bigger catches, these enchants have got you covered. The enchants in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Resilient, Controlled, Steady, Divine, and Hasty. Alright, let's dive straight into the fish rod enchants that can take your fishing game to a whole new level. If you're looking to max out your fishing experience and reel in those big catches, knowing which enchants are the best for your rod is absolutely crucial. Trust me, these can make all the difference. And today, we're talking about the S tier ones that will truly help you up your fishing game. First up, we have Resilient. If you're rocking a rod that doesn't already have a high resilience stat, this enchant is an absolute must. It boosts your resilience by a whopping 35%, which is huge, especially when you're trying to catch those massive fish. You'll definitely want to slap this on rods like the Mythical Rod, Trident Rod, or Reinforced Rod. If you don't have resilience, you're going to struggle with bigger catches. This enchant will make sure you're ready for those heavy hitters. Next, let's talk about Controlled. Now, this one is fantastic for rods that don't come with any resilience, and it's arguably the second best enchant if you're fishing with a non-resilience rod. It makes your bar size bigger by around 0.15, which doesn't sound like much, but trust me, it's a game changer. When you're dealing with those tricky fish, a bigger bar can be the difference between landing the catch or watching it slip away. If you're using a rod like the Mythical Rod or something similar, this enchant is a top pick. Then there's Steady, which ups your progress speed by 25%. It's a solid enchant that's comparable to Controlled, but still slightly less important. Speeding up your progress is definitely helpful, especially in those longer, more tedious sessions. When you don't need that extra resilience boost, but still want to reel in fish faster, Steady is a great way to go. Let's not forget about Divine. If you're more about the luck stat, this enchant will boost your luck by 45%, and that's a huge increase. It's the best luck boosting enchant, hands down, and works wonders on rods like the King's Rod or Steady Rod. If you're aiming for those rare fish and just need that extra bit of luck to get them, Divine is your go-to enchant. It's pretty much a no-brainer if you're focusing on maximizing your chances of catching the rarest fish. Lastly, we have Hasty, and oh boy, does this one make a difference. It increases your lure speed by 55%, which is insanely good compared to Swift, which is a much weaker enchant. Hasty is perfect for rods that need a boost to their lure speed or already have a decent lure speed stat but need that little extra push. If you're using rods like the King's Rod, Trident Rod with rapid catcher bait, or the Magnet Rod, Hasty is going to speed up your lure game in a big way. So there you have it, the S tier enchants for your rods in fish. Whether you need more resilience, bigger bars, faster progress, or just a little luck on your side, these enchants are going to help you fish like a pro. Now get out there, start enchanting those rods, and watch your fishing skills level up. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.